Hello and welcome back to Alice Talks Football and welcome back to another live Manchester United news, takeover news, transfer news, general news show, more of an injury news show. We'll move to the bigger screen here, but I've got problems with the internet, so I do apologise if it gets a little bit blurry, but please do hit that like button. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new, share the video and all of that stuff. In today's video, we're going to get into the latest on the United injury front. 7 players going to miss the Everton game, the Mason Mount injury, a big problem, staff members complaining about other staff members and Ten Hag wanting to bring in certain staff from Ajax to help with injuries and not being granted that. We've got more information on the Varane situation. Ten Hag has responded to the Varane situation. Ten Hag has responded to a lot of rumours and leaks about him. And then we'll also do a little bit of a preview to the Manchester United versus Everton game ahead of Sunday. So everyone, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe down below if you're new. I think Ten Hag has been told to trim the wage bill. It's nothing to do with ability. Varane, EA. You know what? Interesting. There's a theory going about, Ronaldo, De Gea, Sancho, Varane, Casemiro is another one rumoured for a move. All the big wage stars. Martial be moving on as well. That would mean basically all of the highest earners, bar Rashford, could be shipped off by the summer. Do you guys think there could be something going on in terms of Erik ten Hag and the wage bill and the board trying to push him to get the big players out? I'm not sure. I think Varane and Casemiro might be more to do with their age than their wages. I think it's more of the rebuild. But from what I'm hearing, Man United don't actually have plans to sell Casemiro. There's a lot of reports and rumours saying we want to get rid of Casemiro. Casemiro's going to go to Saudi in the summer. But the reliable sources are saying no. The reliable sources saying United still want to get another year out of Casemiro, another year and a half out of Casemiro. The less reliable sources are linking into Saudi. So I will stay out of Casemiro. Alex B says trim the wage bill by selling multiple deadwood players. Not our best performers. Exactly. Do you know what? This is what's frustrating me. It feels like right now when we do our big clear out, all the good players are going to go, and the Lindelofs, the McTominays, they're going to be the ones staying. And it's like, no, you've got to get rid of the players that are deadwood. But unfortunately, no one wants. Well, actually, people did want McTominay, people did want Maguire, people did want Lindelof. But what I'm saying is, we never got rid of Donny van de Beek, we never got rid of Sancho, we never got rid of actual players that needed to go, like a McTominay. Who I know Ten Hag's took a bit of favour to now, but you get what I mean. Maybe we need to be getting rid of the likes of those guys ahead of others. But do hit that like button as you enter the live stream. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new. But it's the international break. It's over. The international break is over. Finally, I've been so bored. Maybe it's just me, but I have been so bored this last week. Honestly, unbelievably bored. I just don't care about England. I don't care about the international break. And the news about United's been boring because it's news and it's kind of repetitive. And it's Jim this, Paul Mitchell that, Murta this, Bella. And it's mostly been negative news. And I just want to get back into football. I want to talk about football. I want to do my watch along. I want to be talking about Man United, playing football, other Premier League games. Because being a content creator around football, when there is nothing going on. I think I made about 3 TikTok videos in the last 2 weeks. I just couldn't be bothered with TikTok because it's just boring. I'm so glad the international break is over. But I'm almost thinking, Mount, could you have got injured before the international break? Because if you're out for a month injured after the international break, at least you could have used up 2 weeks in the international break. So let's get into the news. Let's get into the injury front. Let's get into all the information going about. So Mason Mount is among 7 players who will be unavailable for the Everton game. Ten Hag confirmed that in his press conference earlier today that Mason Mount is injured and will indeed, in fact, miss the Everton game. Big injury. Well, not. I would say it's a big injury to Mason Mount. Fabrizio Romano is saying Mount picked up an injury as test took place today in order to understand how long he won't be available for. Mount's determined to work hard and return as soon as possible, but Romano didn't give a return date. But Insider United said that Mason Mount was injured before Ten Hag did and before Romano's did, and he said he's out for a month with a calf injury. Now, Insider United's actually someone who's got sources close to United because United are being really careful not to actually mention what kind of injuries the players are getting, because if they know Mount's got a calf injury, maybe people will do things that will sort of target his calf as well. It was also said that Facundo Pellistri has picked up an injury while on international break, and and then obviously Mason Mount's injury issue will mean he's out of the Everton game, and the reports are saying that Facundo Pellistri will also be out of the Everton game. So that will be a big, big blow for United. Club football for 4 months. That's why my favourite is November, because it's the last till 4 months. Yeah, at least we've got a good spell of club football coming in now. The international break is over as well. Interesting who will start in midfield with Bruno and McTominay as well, says Crocuta. It'll be interesting to see that. I think it'll be Amrabat, Bruno, McTominay, and then Maino, Mejbri, and Donny, I guess, will be our subs choices. Maybe Gore will be on the bench because he's really not favouring Donny. But I think Maino, this is a big opportunity for Kobbie Maino now. That's the only positive. I think it's a big opportunity for Kobbie Maino. But because Eriksen's injured, it's so annoying that Mount's injured because I thought Mount was quite good last game and I thought Mount was showing moments when he's come off. And I was like, oh, Mount's finally going to get a run of games because Eriksen's injured. This is Mount's time to prove himself. And Mount get injured and it just comes at such a frustrating time, doesn't it, as well? But yeah, we've only got 3 fit midfielders in terms of first team players, actually 4 if you count Donny as a first team player, and we've got Mejbri, Gore and Maino, and I think Maino will definitely be involved as well. Only way to cope with more and more injuries, only way to cope with more and more fixtures, time out and international break is to have 2 full 11s like City's had. Yeah, I think we're going to need 2 full 11s, and when I say 2 full 11s, I mean 2 full 11s full of actual players that are quality, not just crap players lying around, you know what I mean? I think for me, I think definitely need to do more tactical work and less intense training work during the week because it's definitely a lot of muscular injuries and there's been some reports that actually Ten Hag's training regime isn't being the most effective with all the muscular injuries. But at the same time, I think depth is something that's so important. And unfortunately, the Glazers don't like to really invest too much in depth because they only like to buy a player if there's a seething problem there as well. Luke Shaw, left centre-back before Varane. Well, Luke Shaw partners Varane at left centre-back quite comfortably. So you never know, you might see that because I wouldn't be surprised if Maguire got injured next game. I just feel like everyone's going to be getting injured left, right and centre. But let's get into the news. Let's get into my little bit of a rant on the injury front and stuff as well. So I did a little bit of a rant earlier, people. So let me dive into this here. So Mount, Pellistri, Eriksen, Højlund, Casemiro, Martinez, Evans, Malacia and Ahmad are all injured for the Everton game. And Nana and Wan-Bissaka were a doubt, but I meant to put Wan-Bissaka and Højlund as a doubt and Nana is fine. But Mount, Pellistri, Eriksen, Casemiro, Martinez, Evans, Malacia, Ahmad all out injured for the game against Everton tomorrow. Højlund's a doubt. Wan-Bissaka's a doubt. Ten Hag's going to assess that tomorrow. And Nana should be back in time. Luke Shaw is back as well. But that's Mount 1, Pellistri 2, Eriksen 3, Casemiro 4, Martinez 5, Evans 6, Malacia 7, Ahmad 8. That's Mount and 7 others out injured for the Everton game. It's like we've just got Luke Shaw back. I was being so positive about just having Luke Shaw back, and I was saying, oh, once we get Luke Shaw back, we're going to see the likes of other players come back like Martinez soon, and hopefully we'll get the bulk back of the squad and we'll go on a run and stuff. And it's like, no, now we've got 3 fixtures in 6 days. We've got this crazy intense fixture list, difficult games like Galatasaray, Liverpool coming up, and it's like another player's injured, another player's injured, another player's injured. It's like this non-stop injury cycle. It is, I'll be honest with you guys, it is doing my head in. Injury this, injury that. The injuries just don't seem to stop. And I'm just like, please, United, stop getting injured. Give us a break. It's just on and on and on and on and on. And it's just not fair. And there's definitely some problems there that we're going to talk about as well. Nick says, I see Anana, Wan-Bissaka, Maguire, Lindelof, Shaw, Amrabat, McTominay, Anthony, Bruno, Garnacho, Rashford be in the lineup. Hopefully that's the case. Hopefully Varane's in there for Lindelof. And because I don't think that's too bad of a lineup. And then maybe Maino comes on for McTominay a little bit of time. That would be nice to see. And yeah, Anthony's... I actually think that Martial will be good. I know a lot of people aren't mentioning it. Maybe that's just me, but I'd actually play Martial for that Everton game. I really would. Eric Ten Hag does need to use the wider squad more. Also strange, even the likes of Amrabat seeing that favour lately, which we will talk about. I do want to talk about Amrabat later in today's show. But shall I actually dive through the news, dive through the information, and then we'll have a little bit of a discussion after I just get through these news stories here. So this is Manchester United's current sort of injury list. I'm going to make that, is that bigger? There we go. I'll make that a little bigger for you guys. So this is what I tweeted. So far this season, Martinez suffered a 3-month injury. Luke Shaw suffered a 3-month injury. Wan-Bissaka suffered a 2-month injury. Malacia has been injured for 5 months plus. Casemiro suffered a 3-month injury. Reguilon suffered a 4-week injury. Mount suffered a 6-week injury and is now out for another month, which is his second injury. Maino suffered a 3-month injury. Amad Diallo suffered a 5-month injury. Eriksen's got a 1-month injury. Højlund's apparently got a 4-week injury, and that will be his second injury because he arrived injured and he missed the first 4 weeks for injury as well. Varane has been in and out of injuries every few weeks. Johnny Evans is now out for a month, and Maguire and Lindelof have already missed games through little knocks and injuries. Anana is a doubt for the next game. Amrabat and Højlund arrived injured. We've had the whole Anthony Sanchez situation, and reportedly Facundo Pellistri's picked up an injury. Martial was injured in pre-season but fit by the start of the season. McTominay had a little knock here and there. We are in the month of November, and Manchester United have had 23 different injury issues in the month of November. That is 20% higher than any other season in this club's history in terms of injuries. Something is not right about this season. Something is not right about the injury scenario at Manchester United. It's an absolute mess, and a lot of it is on these pointless international breaks where clearly players are just playing not to get injured. These pointless international breaks don't help. They're making the games longer. They're making the fixture list more intense. For me, look, instead of international breaks, have a 4-week break. Have 1 2-week break, then they play for 2 months, then have another 2-week break instead of these international breaks, because they're absolutely pointless. The added minutes are absolutely pointless. And Rafael Varane came out with a tweet earlier in the season complaining, saying, us players are not robots. You know, what's going on with this fixture list? Us players are not robots, because I feel like the footballers are being treated like robots at the moment. They are footballers. They are not robots. There's so many injury issues in the Premier League. You're adding more minutes. You're adding more games. You're adding more this. You're adding more that. It's just injury nightmare at the moment, and it really needs to be fixed up. It really, really does. Continuing on, I said that this has been a big problem. Now, I think this is an interesting thing that I want to point out, and I've just realised that my screen is not shared with you guys here. And I want to mention this. I want to point this out because I think it's just particularly important. But it was obviously said Jose and Louis van Gaal both complained about the Man United medical team and were frustrated with the amount of injuries that we had picked up in the past. Both Jose Mourinho and Van Gaal had complained about Man United medical staff not being good enough and were frustrated and blamed them for the number of injuries we picked up in the past. Jose Mourinho, when he came to United, wanted to change medical staff, wanted to make a few changes, but was not allowed. Ten Hag wanted to bring some medical staff with him from Ajax, but he was not allowed. He wanted to bring I don't know what his name is, but Ten Hag wanted to bring 2 guys from Ajax who were in rehabilitation, strength and conditioning type stuff in terms of recovery. Wasn't allowed. Ten Hag wanted to change medical staff. Wasn't allowed. Ronaldo complained that Man United had no upgrade to any team or facilities in the medical department in 18 years. So that is a big problem at United. It's just that I think the medical staff's outdated, the facilities are outdated. We obviously don't have the personnel and the brains there to realise that maybe there's something we're doing in training that's not quite right, because the players have been complaining that Ten Hag is overworking them. The players have been complaining about the intense pre-season fixture list, how intense it was. The players have been complaining a lot about how their training is so intense and they had no rest in pre-season. And I'm very much for making these players work hard. They always complain Ollie was too soft on these players. He let them get away with a lot. But I do think there's a point when it's muscular injury after muscular injury after muscular injury when you go, actually, this isn't bad luck anymore. This is something wrong with our training routine. To get this many injuries, I know that Ten Hag's doing a lot of intense training with the players, and I get why, because they've been incredibly lazy. But maybe he does need to do more tactical work and lay it through to them, because there's so much thing as bad luck, but when you're getting continuous muscular injuries, as much as it feels like these players aren't overworked because they're lazy on the pitch, maybe they're overworked in training and they don't have the energy on the pitch. And you've got to think, I think a lot of it is actually from last season. I think the amount of games we played last season, the demands on the players, the lack of rotation, I think a lot of the problems that we've got in terms of injuries do lay over from last season as well, that I don't think a lot of people mention as well. Alex B says there has to be a balance between hard work and rest. Even elite athletes can be overworked. And I think that is what it is. I think it's that balance. And I don't think we're finding that balance as well. Doesn't matter if Pellistri's injured because he isn't one of Ten Hag's favourites. Well, Pellistri being injured is bad because I want to see Pellistri on the right wing because he's playing well on the right wing for Uruguay. But we spoke about this earlier. Ten Hag never really favours sort of playing Pellistri as well. Højlund will be a big miss. Yeah, hopefully he's not injured. Ten Hag said they are going to assess him tomorrow, but it's looking like a doubt. It's looking unlikely. It's looking like Højlund will not feature in that game, which is a little bit annoying, but it is what it is, if you know what I mean. But I hopefully nothing's wrong with Højlund. But as I said, I think Martial has a good record against Everton. I'm not totally against Martial playing versus Everton as well. But let's continue on. We'll dive through Manchester United's injury list. So, who have United got as sort of midfield options now? They've got this sort of big injuries going on. We've got Bruno, we've got Amrabat, we've got McTominay. I'm assuming they're going to be the midfield three. I think Kobbie Mainoo will be the first choice sub. I think we might see Donny van de Beek get back on the bench. I think we might see Meshbury involved a little bit here and there. And the one thing I like about Meshbury is his energy and desire. And you never know, we might even see Dan Gore given a few minutes here and there. I think the Carabao Cup game, Dan Gore sort of got his chance. I think, to be honest, Meshbury's probably fifth choice, Donny's sixth choice, and Gore's seventh choice. And McTominay's probably second second choice and Amrabat's third choice and Mainoo's fourth choice. But I think definitely Bruno, Amrabat, McTominay. And I think the only positive to come out of this is I think Kobbie Mainoo will start getting some minutes, and then maybe one of Mejbri, Gore, and Donny will get minutes. Probably most likely Mejbri. So they are the current fit midfielders at United. Anthony is the only fit right winger at United as well. So that's the situation we're in right now at Manchester United. We've got there are only midfield options for the next month as well. Alice, if I have to sacrifice a season for these players to get drilled the Ten Hag way, then be it. We have to support the manager. Yes, injuries are bad, but I can live with that. And you know what? I agree with you. If someone said this season is really bad, we get a lot of injuries, but we just focus on the style, the system of play, implementing everything in place that needs to be put in place instead of everything else, and this season just fully focused on the success of Manchester United rather than just playing this way to get through injury this and get through injury that. And yeah, we dropped a few points, but we started to see the system put in place. We started to see this thing put in place. We started to see a little bit of momentum come into the season, and maybe we finished 7th, but we saw something come into the season that put in place for next season, and we got the players to do that and the players back from injury next season. Yeah, I do think sometimes with the bad results at the moment, we're seeing bad results and I'm not seeing a process, and we're getting wins. We're the best form team in the league. We've won 4 out of 5 at the last game. We've won 4 out of 5 of our last Premier League games. My face is gone. Can you hear me? My face is gone. Where's my face gone? Where's my face gone? But we are the form team in the league at the moment. 4 out of 5 wins in our last 5 games, but none of those wins were convincing. And I'm at a point now, if we won 3 out of 5 games and 3 of those wins we played good football, stylistic football, convincing football, I think I would feel more convinced than if we'd won 4 games the way we'd kind of won those 4 games and scraped by. I do agree to an extent that I think with Man United right now, I'd rather us work on implementing the system in place, even if we don't get results, because I think the season is pretty much written up. I'd just rather us sort of implement the system in place, get the players behind the style, so that when we do get the players back and fit, and when we do bring in players, we can actually see what Ten Hag's trying to do, because I think Ten Hag is adapting his system, which to an extent I get why he's doing it, but I think Ten Hag's adapting his system because of all the injuries. I'm thinking he's thinking of doing this, thinking of doing that. He's going, okay, well, I wanted Martinez to come in midfield and build up and completely avoid the midfield because I want to be this big transition side, but then Lisandro Martinez is out injured and Luke Shaw's out injured and everyone is just missing, and all of a sudden we have to play this sort of counter-attacking football and we avoid the midfield and transition, but we can't play this counter-attacking football because we can't even move the ball, we can't even pass, and then we avoid the midfield and transition because we want to be a transition side, but we don't have the players in the defence to help with build-up. So then we're just this big mess, and I think the style is really bad, and I'm shouting because people behind me and my door are shouting, so hopefully that's a sign of them to shut up, because otherwise we're going to hear them over me as well. Alex says, I can't get behind the injuries if it's due to improper methods, the play not justifying the methods either, and I think I agree with Alex here. I do think the injuries are a mixture of things. I think it's a mixture of luck, but I think when there's so many muscular injuries that come from overload, that's something to do with the training, that's something to do with the method. Maybe it's not totally Ten Hag's fault, but you could look at maybe the lack of rotation last season, the amount of games we had, but then you could say that's not Ten Hag's fault. He didn't have the squad to rotate, but you have to look at the training. We need to change things in training, which is partly on Ten Hag. And I think, you know what? The style of play is bad, but we're doing all this intense training. Everyone's getting injured and we're not having a style of play. So I think Alex makes a point here as well. And I'm having to shout because people are shouting behind me, so otherwise you wouldn't be able to hear me as well. But yeah, anyway, please do hit that like button. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new and share the video. My whole point was, I want to see a style of football, and we can't see a style of football because of the injuries, but the style of football we want to play seems to be causing the injuries, which seems to be this big loop thing. I just think for me, Ten Hag needs to lay off in training, give the players a rest, let their muscles sort of recover, because I think we're getting a lot of injuries in training that are muscular injuries, and maybe just do some tactical work and really lay on to the players what it is he wants them to do and what it is he wants them to achieve. Because one of the leaks and one of the problems going round at Manchester United at the moment is a lot of players saying, actually, you know, they want to play Ten Hag's way, they want to play for Ten Hag, they back Ten Hag, but they don't know what it is or the certain way that he wants to play because he's not expressed that clearly as well. It said that Mason Mount shouldn't be out for too long, but it's believed that Mason Mount will be out for a month, said multiple sources, with a calf injury as well. Facundo Pellistri is injured, but we've got no update on his injury, so Hopefully nothing serious is well, people. But let's dive into the next story because I want to just quickly dive into some sort of things that were said on Mason Mount's injury. It was said Mason Mount's injury shouldn't come as a surprise. It's been the story of our season. Mount's performances so far have been on and off, but he's shown a lot of promise. And as time has gone on, he's looked more comfortable in a somewhat dysfunctional midfield. Problem is he hasn't played enough or hasn't been given enough starts for someone who we splashed 60 million on this summer. A player who the manager seemed to rate highly as well. But for whatever reason, he hasn't been allowed to have a consistent run of games. Must be super frustrating for him coming to a new club with high expectations on him and a steep price tag coming from a club like Chelsea. Paired with the fact that a lot of fans didn't want him coming, makes his job even harder in an attempt for him to gain trust from the support from the fans. So this 1 month injury is really bad. I think they make a big point. I feel sorry for Mason Mount because he's been out for 6 weeks, and then he played like 3 games in a row and was really good, and then Ten Hag stopped playing him, and then he came on and was decent. But the thing about Mason Mount is he's not been our worst performer in any of the games. It's not been like a 10 out of 10, but Mason Mount has played a few games, looked decent, looked okay, 6, 7 out of 10 performances, 1 5 out of 10 performance, but he's done the job. He's looked better than most of the squad in these games, and he's limited minutes for United, gets injured, then gets a run of games again, gets injured, and then Eriksen's injured, so we're like, finally Mason Mount's going to be given the run of games because Ten Hag's brought Mason Mount. He doesn't seem to be playing him. But as soon as it looks like Mason Mount's going to be given this run of games, all of a sudden he gets injured. So I feel sorry for Mason Mount because as soon as Eriksen's injured, Mason Mount gets injured. And it's like, this guy can't get a break because, look, I don't think Man United should have signed Mason Mount. I don't think Mason Mount was the profile of midfielder that Manchester United needed. And I sometimes sit here and think, why did we sign a midfielder of Mason Mount's profile when we needed someone to more so help with retention? We needed someone that was maybe better off defensively. I still think, we never got that Frankie de Jong-esque player. I think we needed someone that would have partnered Casemiro more efficiently. I wasn't 100% sure why we signed a player of Mason Mount's profile, but I know Mason Mount is a good player. If he was a bad player, Chelsea fans wouldn't be so outraged with him leaving. They're now saying that they've scammed United because Chelsea fans are saying that, but it's particularly reactionary. But Mason Mount has showed his quality in the minimal minutes he's got. He's not been brilliant, but we've seen moments from Mason Mount. We know he's a good player. We don't know if he suits United. We don't know if he complements Bruno. But you signed Mason Mount, Ten Hag. You're not playing him, and now he's injured. And I feel sorry for Mason Mount because he can't get run of games. A lot of players are against him already. A lot of people are calling him a flop already. And I will not call Mason Mount a flop, and I will not call Amrabat a flop when they've not been given enough minutes. People are writing off Mason Mount. People are writing off Amrabat already. And I'll be honest with you guys, it really frustrates me because I think I can't write off Mason Mount, and I cannot write off Amrabat right now when they've not been given a consistent run of minutes as well. I really can't as well. What people saying? Why can't people think properly? We played the most games last season and Bruno played the most in Europe. Fatigue is a factor, and many teams having issues with injuries. Wish people would come. And I think that's the thing. I'm not Ten Hag out. I'm not expecting Ten Hag to produce a miracle this season because we've had a lot of injuries. I think some of it does come down to training issues, but I think fatigue is something we're suffering with, and Liverpool suffered with fatigue a lot last season because the amount of games Liverpool played 2 seasons ago and the amount of games that Manchester United played last season were more than any other team. And I think that's why Liverpool struggled this time last year at the start of last season. I think one of the reasons we're struggling this season is fatigue from last season, and also the fact that I think the multiple preseason games, I think the lack of squad depth to rotate, I think there's issues there. But the thing is with Mason Mount, he didn't play that many games for Chelsea last season. He got injured at Chelsea. He's got injured at United. Mason Mount's becoming the new Varane with his injuries, which I think is particularly frustrating at the moment as well. And I do feel sorry for Mason Mount. And I want to give Mason Mount time. I want to give Amrabat time. I don't like that there's people out there already writing off Mason Mount, already writing off Amrabat, calling them flops. I think it's silly. I think we need to give Mount time. I think we need to give Amrabat time. And I think we also got to remember that we played a load of games last season and we've definitely got fatigue. But what is the situation on Varane? Because there's a lot of rumours, reports and stories coming out on Varane. And Ten Hag spoke about Varane today, and he said when you have to decide between 2 players who are brilliant, Varane and Maguire, then you have to make a choice. All the rest are just rumours. Ten Hag was asked about the Rafael Varane problem, and he said, I don't know what you're talking about. It's just rumours. He's a very important player, and there's internal competition. Ten Hag is laying it clear, making it clear, look, no issue with Varane. He's an important player. There's no issue with Varane. This was one of the reports on Varane, and I've put BS source at the top because this has been a lot of the aggregator accounts, a lot of the big accounts on Twitter are tweeting out this story, a lot of the aggregator accounts. And the source for me, I looked him up. He doesn't look like a reliable source, but it's going around. So I want to read out this story But considering Ten Hag's reply, considering what the Athletic have said, and considering what the reliable sources have said, the reliable sources saying there's not that much of an issue with Varane. But it was said here, Rafa Varane's advisors have been left stunned at his impending exit from Manchester United. Varane is settled in Manchester. He loves the club and the fans, and he expected to retire at Old Trafford. It's clear the manager has seen something he doesn't like in recent weeks. Rafa Varane has vowed to remain focused for the rest of the season despite uncertainty surrounding his future. And insiders said that Varane's a professional who will train and work hard even if he's not playing. Everyone in and around Manchester United is very surprised that a player of Rafa Varane's quality has fallen down the pecking order so fast. Varane hasn't asked to leave the club and it is not his desire to move on. Varane's advisor wonder if it's about his wages and the club wants to offload him with new investors coming in. At the start of the season, it was made clear that Varane was a key part of the team and he'd be a vital player for the club and manager moving forward. Varane is delighted with that. Now he's the fourth choice centre-back and he faces looking for a new club in the summer. Now, I don't think this is the particularly reliable source. I do think there's something going on with Varane. I do think something's not quite right. But Ten Hag's just saying, I want Varane as a right centre-back. I don't see him as a left centre-back. I don't see Maguire as a left centre-back. They've got to fight for the right centre-back spot. Maguire's in better form because Varane's injured. It's not that Varane's been bad. He was injured. Maguire stepped in, did a good job. And Varane, was probably a bit frustrated by that. But Varane's a professional. They probably got over it. But other reports are saying, that Varane wants to leave. He can't understand this and that. He had a heated argument with Ten Hag. But those sources are the less reliable ones. I think that maybe Varane is a little bit frustrated. And I think Varane might look for a move if he's not going to get lots and lots of chances. But I think, it's 4 games that Varane hasn't started. I don't think it's that deep. I think he will get an opportunity. And I'd like to see Maguire left centre-back and Varane right centre-back as well. Alice, please, Alice, don't regurgitate the articles. They're only purely negative for United, just literally days before the game. Eric Ten Hag didn't even know what the reporter had asked about. Yeah, I mean, look, when I report these articles, I report them because it's the news and you guys ask me about them and people speak about them. But I say things that, like, the source is probably BS as well. And it was also said by United Nad. He said just a small update, but nothing major. Lindelof contract talks have stalled, but he's expected to get an extension. As well. Apparently Ten Hag would like to keep Lindelof and is not opposed to giving him a new contract. Personally, I'd be looking to sell on Lindelof in the summer. And he also said multiple sources have said there's no issue between Varane and Ten Hag as well. And I want to quickly close that and just get something up for you guys here, actually, because as I said, I've always said with the Varane stuff, I'll report the news, but I'll be very honest on my sort of thought process on it. And I do think news try and create negativity. I do think media try and create negativity around Manchester United for clicks. And what I wanna share with you is what I wrote here. Can you see this? I want to share what I wrote with you quickly, guys, here. So let me zoom in on that. I said, the Athletic and numerous reliable sources stated just last week that there's no issue between Ten Hag and Varane. It seems that the media is exaggerating Varane being dropped and the situation, as they often do, given that negative Man United news tends to attract clicks. I personally believe that Varane might not be pleased about being dropped for Johnny Evans and may have expressed some frustration towards Ten Hag. However, I don't think the situation is much deeper than that. Why? Because I think Varane's professional. But 2, it's worth noting that Ten Hag still included Varane in the squad. In comparison, when issues arose with other players like Sancho Ronaldo, they didn't even make the squad. So I don't think, if the issue was so bad, Varane wouldn't make the squad. I assume Varane is annoyed, but I believe he'll act professionally and eventually get over it. Many reliable sources indicate that the relationship is fine and Varane is displaying patience. Only time to the situation unfolds. What I reckon went on is Varane was frustrated because we lost 3-0 to Man City and Ten Hag had said that he'd picked Johnny Evans over Varane for tactical reasons and Johnny Evans conceded 3 goals. So Varane was frustrated, probably questioned Ten Hag on that in training. Ten Hag maybe got annoyed that he questioned it. Varane's a professional. It blew over. The situation's fine now. Varane understands, blah, blah, blah. And that the media just wanted to create some big negative article to go and get some clicks because it's the international break and the news is a bit dead. That's generally my theory on this news. This is generally what I think on the news as well. I think that it's just negative publications on Varane for clicks. I think that, there was probably Varane frustrated that he wasn't picked for the City game because Ten Hag said tactical issues and we conceded 3 goals without Varane, and Varane maybe probably brought that up to Ten Hag and said, I don't get that, I don't. And maybe question that, and maybe they had a squabble, like a little squabble, but I think Varane's a professional. I think Ten Hag spoke very positive of Varane. He's still in the squad. I think they're getting on just fine. And I think Varane probably thinking maybe in the back of his head, if I don't get minutes, then I will look for a move. But, I'm going to fight my way back into the squad and get the minutes. That's just my sort of genuine thought process on the Varane situation. I think the media over-exaggerating it. And I do want to talk about the Amrabat situation as well. And I'll show you this on Varane, because the Athletic's a lot more reliable than the people we just quoted, and they said that Varane took no issue with being named a substitute last month for United. There's definitely something going on with with Varane and Ten Hag, maybe in terms of Varane not playing, but Ten Hag's saying it's tactical reasons. We just got to believe that, and that Ten Hag's a professional. That Varane's a professional. But I do want to look at this here. I want to speak about Amrabat. Alex makes a good point here. We conceded 10 goals in 3 matches that Rafa was not involved in, and when he finally came on, Rafa seemed extremely unhappy. I think there's definitely some kind of unhappiness and frustration with not being picked, but I just don't think it's like super deep. Maybe that's just me as well. This isn't the first time he's been benched in his career because they need a story to condemn Erik ten Hag, and United put it out there. And I do think that's what the media does. They think international break, we need some more clicks, we need some more views. And I do sometimes think they sit there and go, all right, how are we going to go out there and find a way to sort of condemn Ten Hag because, he's not a British manager, this and that. Give Lindelof a new deal. It costs 80+ million to replace. He has his faults, but most of the time he's reliable and can play now and then. I don't mind Lindelof as a fourth choice centre-back, but I mean, if we had an opportunity to cash 20 million on Lindelof and actually get someone like Tolderberg, then I would 100% do it. I wanted to have a little chat about Amrabat because a lot of people in the media kind of writing off Amrabat. Amrabat's kind of been written off as a flop already. And I think with Amrabat and Mason Mount, it's way too early. And I want to say this on Amrabat. I said this. People writing Amrabat, I feel like people are writing Amrabat off way too early. He arrived injured. He was forced to play out of position at left back. Hasn't had a run of games to regain proper match fitness. Has only started 7 games all season. He looked brilliant in his first game. He's playing for an unsustainable Man United side where big players are underperforming this season, like Rashford. We all know his qualities. He's been no worse than anyone else on the side when he's played. Generally think it's too early to judge the likes of Amrabat and Mount, who's looked good when he's played. When the main bulk of the squad returns and Amrabat gets a run, and I think he will show his quality. I think for Amrabat to basically play 2 games for United in his natural position and people call him a flop, I think it's crazy. He was injured. He's missed a lot of the season. He's not back to full match fitness. He's played 2 games in his natural position. People call him a flop. His first 2 games, he was really good and he was playing out of position. And that sort of 6th role, everyone struggled in and everyone was bad, not just Amrabat, and maybe he was being brought down by a bad squad. Because, well, look, we know that Martinez isn't a bad player, but Martinez in the 3 games he played this season was dreadful. We know that Casemiro isn't a bad player, but Casemiro's been dreadful this season. We know that Rashford isn't a bad player, but Rashford's been dreadful for this season. He's playing in an unsustainable Man United side when he's been asked to play out of position and he's been asked of this and that. I think it's crazy to call Amrabat a flop. I think when we get some sustainability, when we get some players back in place, and if Amrabat's just given a run of games to kind of get used to it, get back to match fitness, I generally think that, we will see that Amrabat's not a flop, and I think the same with Mason Mount. Ten Hag wanted these players. I'm not quite sure why he's not playing them, considering how much Ten Hag wanted these players, but I think calling Amrabat a flop this early on is just jumping on it as well. Let's dive into the next story as well in a second. There's quite a few players who need time, and Amrabat's definitely one good player. Yeah, I was a big fan of us signing Amrabat. I did a lot of research on him. I thought he looked really good in his opening game for United. I'm not going to write off Amrabat now like lots of other people are doing because he's had like 2 bad games. I think it's just crazy to write off a player that's had literally 2 or 3 bad games. I think it's absolute madness. But let's dive into some other stories as well. I want to dive into what Ten Hag said in the press thing as well. Injury FC is what we are as well. Fans judging players is one thing, but Erik ten Hag suddenly reduced Amrabat amount bit parts is more concerning. And I have to say that's my biggest concern with Ten Hag is he signs these players, he demands these players, he doesn't play them. I feel like Erik ten Hag is going back to the Ollie bulk, the players that Ollie prefer, because he wants to play his counter-attacking football to get results over the line because he doesn't trust his current players to play the way he wants to play, which is what Ten Hag needs to be doing, is implementing the play he wants to play and trust the players he signs to do that, which, that is definitely for me a big question mark around Ten Hag, 100% as well. Yeah, unfortunately, we are injury FC people. We are. So should we dive into what Ten Hag said in his press conference earlier today? So Ten Hag did a press conference earlier today where he spoke about a few things, and I just realised I've got the wrong screen up here. Let me get the PowerPoint slide back up and get into a few things that Ten Hag said, obviously ahead of the next game. So it was said by Ten Hag ahead of the Everton game tomorrow that we go in a week very content. We played 3 games in 6 days as a squad, we have to deal with that. Of course, we have a plan, a strategy for it. We make players aware that they have to take responsibility for it, but especially it's about cooperation. Ten Hag said that Johnny Evans is on the way back, but he's not ready for Everton, but he shouldn't be out for too long. He said on Luke Shaw, he has been out for a long time and we didn't have a left back at certain points, but I'm very happy that Luke Shaw's back and he's a lot more stable. And he said on Rasmus Højlund ahead of the Everton game, it's a close finish. He's training outside, making good steps, but we'll have to wait until tomorrow for the final decision, was said by Erik ten Hag. So there's a lot of big doubts. There's a lot of big players that might not be available for the Everton. Why am I saying Everton tomorrow? Everton's Sunday, right? We are Sunday, right? Man United Everton is Sunday at 4:30. So there's a lot of players that sort of are a doubt ahead of that game. But I do want to talk about who I believe will start and play against Everton, given the injuries we've had. Onana is seen as a doubt. But it's kind of said that Onana is expected to be back. So I'm assuming Onana goes in goal. I don't know if he would dive in and start Luke Shaw to begin with. I think that depends on if Wan-Bissaka's injured, because Wan-Bissaka's also a doubt. I just can't see Luke Shaw playing 90 minutes after not playing for so long. I'm going to hope it's Varane and Maguire. But with the way that Ten Hag's been talking, I fully expect it to be Lindelof because he's thinking about pairing. I'd like it to be Varane and Maguire, but I have a feeling it's going to be Lindelof here. Amrabat, I believe, is going to play as the 6 because we've got no Casemiro, no Eriksen, and no Mount. I think McTominay will play as sort of the 8 and Bruno will play as the 10. I do think that Maino will be the... If one of those players gets injured or needs to be subbed off, Maino's the guy coming on. I wouldn't risk Rasmus Højlund if he's a risk because Martial's got a good record against Everton. I'd then play Rashford on the left. And actually, no, Rashford and Martial have good link up. I'd play... Do you know what? With Pellistri injured, I play Garnacho on the right and I play Rashford on the left because the one thing about Rashford and Martial is they have good link up. Bruno also has good link up with Martial and Rashford. So maybe there could be some danger there. And I'd play McTominay closer to Amrabat for support. The good thing is, ahead of the Everton game, that Everton's best player, Amadou Onana, who Man United have been heavily linked with, is a major doubt for the Everton game. For Everton Man United game, I don't think he's going to be fit to play, which means that at least Everton will be missing some midfielders as well. Tactically, we know Erik ten Hag is up for it. Man management, I'm more concerned, seems to rub numerous players the wrong way and many suddenly out of favour. Yeah, in-game management particularly as well, subbing off. I think it's the favouritism towards certain players. It's like, okay, Bruno can get a goal, McTominay can get a goal, Rashford can get a goal, so I'm going to keep them on when they've been poor. I get keeping Bruno on. Bruno, as crap as Bruno is, he can make something happen out of nothing when he's crap. When Rashford's crap, he's hopeless, but Bruno, as crap as he is, he's game-changing. I don't think Bruno's a bad player. I'm just saying if Bruno's at a form of having a crap game, you can still produce something. Rashford's is a form player. He has 3 months where he's unbelievable, 3 months where he's crap. But when Rashford's crap, he doesn't seem to produce anything. And McTominay every now and then comes off the bench and produces stuff. But all of a sudden, McTominay's crap again. But what I mean is, I understand why you would never take off Bruno. He's the captain. He's so influential, even if he's having a bad game. But I think players like Rashford needed to be benched. He doesn't. I think players like McTominay, yes, he scores a few goals, but it was, other than the goals, his performances haven't warranted him playing. And you've signed Mount and you've signed this. And I also think it's just in-game substitutions. And I think I'm with Alex on that. I think that sort of man management and in-game management is a little bit more worrying than maybe tactical setup as well. Is Reguilon injured? I don't think so, but I just think he obviously prefers Wan-Bissaka and Dalot to Reguilon as well. It's sad to think we don't have a left back. Well, Luke Shaw is back fit. I just don't think he will start. I think Luke Shaw will come on in the 60th minute. I just can't see him starting after being out for that long. And as Diego says, please do smash the like button, subscribe, put the bell on as well, people. I'm not sure if there'll be a morning video tomorrow unless there's news. There's obviously lots of football games on tomorrow, but I will be doing a lot of content on my second channel tomorrow ahead of the City-Liverpool game. And I think is it Arsenal-Brentford tomorrow as well. So, yeah. Højlund keeps picking up knocks and then throwing back in, needs to be handled carefully. That's why I would just play Martial, because he's got a really good record versus Everton. But no Onana, the first time Martial starts a bloody game this season, he'll pick up an injury as well. Bolasie back soon, I rate him over Reguilon. Reguilon is woeful defensively. Yeah, I agree. I actually think Reguilon's been okay this season when he's played. Not that he's played much, because he got bloody injured. But I actually don't think Reguilon's been too bad this season when he played. But yeah, Malacia and Shaw are better than Reguilon as well. It just feels like United at the moment, we just can't seem to catch a break. It feels like we just can't seem to catch a break. As soon as Eriksen gets injured, Mount's injured. And I have to say, it's not even bad luck anymore. When you're getting multiple calf, non-contact muscular injuries, it's to the point where you go, we need to change something in our training regime. We need to change something up, because this isn't luck anymore. This is us getting injury after injury after injury. Something's not right with our training. And I think you've got to look at that and go, you know what, I have to say, I don't like to be too negative, but that is particularly concerning. Injury here, injury there as well. Reguilón's okay going forward, but seems very suspect on the defensive side. I do agree with that as well. Alice, I hope you're getting over that cough. Yeah, I mean, it's been going on ages, but it's basically gone now as well. But anyway, people, I'm going to wrap up the live stream here because we've got to the 40-minute mark, and I try and make all my live streams about 45 minutes, but international, mate, it's one of those periods where I feel like it's dead for news, because I would normally speak about news for half an hour and news for 20 minutes and then football matches for 20 minutes that we've watched, whereas now we just have to talk about news and matches in the past that we've watched for ages as well. But look, I back Ten Hag. I fully back Ten Hag. I have criticisms of him. I think the management of the squad needs to be better. Maybe his management and training is at fault for injuries, but I do feel sorry for him at the same time. All these injuries, working with the Glazers, the distraction of the takeover, it must be difficult for him. Must be difficult. But yeah, only bright side is Eric Ten Hag could use the wider squad, like Hannibal, yeah. Kobe Mainoo, I think that's the only positive I can think of. And reportedly, Pellistri is going to be out injured tomorrow as well, which is frustrating. Man City, Liverpool, 12:30 kickoff. People, take care. Everybody in the chat, smash a like, smash a subscribe. Thank you for watching. Bye.